welcome to Keith DeCandido here, speaking with SlayerLit. I want to welcome you.
Hello.
And how's the con going for you so far?
Very good if exhausting. I've been spending most of my time at the Boom Studios booth, which is where I got my wonderful Mark Waid is Evil t-shirt. Mark is our editor-in-chief at Boom. I'm currently scripting several Farscape miniseries for Boom, which I'm doing in collaboration with Rockne O'Bannon, who created the show. These are very akin to the Buffy Season 8 and the Angel Season 5 comics. These are picking up where the TV show left off, and it is being executive produced by the guy who created the show. The current miniseries, which has the subtitle of The Beginning of the End of the Beginning, it's a 4-issue miniseries. Rockne's plotting on doing the script, and Tommy Patterson's doing the art. And then we're going to be following that up with another one called Strange Detractors, which will have art by Will Slinney, and we'll be continuing beyond that as well. Basically continuing the story of Farscape forward. We're starting with Rigel returning to Hyneria, which was something that they always wanted to do on the TV show, but wasn't really practical because the animatronic puppet of Rigel was a logistical difficulty. There was one episode where they had 2 Hynerians, and just having 2 Hynerians was apparently a nightmare from which they have yet to recover.
Sort of like Bruce the Shark in Jaws.
Yeah.
It never quite worked.
And well, I mean, it worked, but it was a major pain in the patooties to get it to actually work properly. So doing a whole planet of Hynerians was just really not going to happen on the budget of a weekly TV show. So, but for a comic book, we don't have that problem. We can, and Tommy has done a wonderful job of portraying Hyneria, and living up to what you would expect from something, produced by the Creature Shop. Strange Detractors will be the next story after that, and we're hoping to keep going. We're also doing one miniseries that I'm writing solo that takes place during the show. It's called Dargo's Lament. It features Dargo and Jewel. It's basically if you died in the Peacekeeper Wars, you get to star in this miniseries. Because both characters were blown up. They aren't featuring in the post finale story.
So dying was a good career move for them. Now they get their own story.
They get their own story. Yeah. Well, Dargo was a fairly popular character, but he did die in the Peacekeeper Wars. So we wanted to do something with him, and we figured we could, do a flashback story. It takes place during the 3rd season, right after he got the hang of the ancient Luxon ship that he salvaged. So
surprisingly, you're really a newcomer to comic book writing, and I would have thought it's something you would have been into years ago, because you really, in a way, kind of got your start working with licensed Marvel characters, right?
My first short story, my first novel were both Spider-Man, and I edited a line of Marvel Comics novels that was published by Berkeley Books with Byron Price Multimedia back in the mid to late 90s. Mm-hmm. And I actually did do one comic book. I did the Star Trek The Next Generation miniseries for Wildstorm in 1999. And it wasn't for lack of trying for doing more comic book work. It just never worked out until this year, when all of a sudden tons of stuff happened at once. Mm-hmm. Last year, actually, was when it started with the Farscape comics. I also did a Star Trek Alien Spotlight comic for IDW, which will be published in April of 2009. And I'm doing a 3-volume StarCraft manga series for Tokyopop, which will debut in December of this year. It should debut alongside the StarCraft novel I'm writing called Spectres, which is a sequel to my 2006 novel Nova.
There could be some cross-promotion between the two?
Oh, yeah. Both Ghost Academy, at least initially, is going to take place between 2 of the closing chapters of Nova. It's the time when the character of Nova was at the Ghost Academy, which we kind of skipped over in the novel. That wasn't the thrust of that story. We just said, okay, then she went to the Academy. The manga is going to flesh that out somewhat. And there are going to be a bunch of characters besides Nova who will be common to both the manga and the novel. So, and in fact, one of the characters is also going to be one of the major villains in the StarCraft 2 video game.
Okay.
So yeah, this is going to be, everything will be cross-promotion, cross-pollinating with everything. And it's been fun. I really enjoy working in the StarCraft universe. I've written also for World of Warcraft, which I also enjoyed, but for whatever reason, I feel I'm particularly enjoying what I've been getting to do with StarCraft, particularly the character of Nova, who's sort of become my pet character. She was supposed to be the lead in the StarCraft Ghost game that never happened.
Oh.
So,
in fact, you're making it up for her.
Yeah, basically. The story of Nova was originally intended as a prequel to the StarCraft Ghost game. It was supposed to lay the backstory for that game, and the plot of Spectres is more or less what the plot of the game was going to be, of the StarCraft Ghost game.
Okay.
It's not, line by line hewing to it. Because the game didn't happen, we were allowed to, develop the story in different ways than the game might have necessarily. But it's basically the story of what the game was.
Were you writing the game as well? Or?
No. I was never involved in that. That was and the problems that the game had nothing to do with the writing. It had to do with getting the programming aspects of it. I think. I don't know the specifics. I know the game story was already more or less set.
Okay.
Because that's what I'm working with for Spectres. The issues with, but Blizzard is very quality conscious. They would rather not. They would rather announce something and not release it if it's not living up to snuff than release it. And they'll delay the release until they're sure they've got it right, which is admirable and also something you can afford to do when you have the best-selling game on the planet.
Yeah.
I remember when I was working on one of the projects with them. I got about a week's delay on getting the approval of the plot for my World of Warcraft novel because they were very busy that week installing 6 new servers to handle all the load of people playing World of Warcraft.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a huge phenomenon, but that also gives them the luxury of that level of quality control where they can decide, they'd rather not release it than release something that they feel is subpar.
Okay.
Which is impressive.
It's refreshing, isn't it?
Yeah.